everybody, this is Roland from Two Dudes in a Train, and I thought I don't know how you put it. I've never done sculpting before, so instead of just jumping right down onto the train layout, I thought I would try a diorama first. You know, just something small, throw together, and try my hand out on a little diorama before I try it on the main layout. So let me get things together here, and I will show you what I'm using. Alrighty, everybody, this is what I kind of made up here. I just took a, 18-inch by 24-inch piece of styrofoam, pink styrofoam. It may be a different color wherever you're at, I don't know. And I got myself a do-it-yourself Sculpt the Mold here, which is basically paper pulp and plaster of Paris, a spray bottle, and a wire brush. And the wire brush, what I did is scuffed up the surface area so my do-it-yourself Sculpt the Mold here will adhere to it. And the spray bottle is to kind of wet the surface so it'll have a good bond to it. So let's get started. Everybody, okay, we're kind of set up here. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and mix up a little bit of my do-it-yourself Sculpt the Mold here. Now add just enough water in here to have it turn to a cottage cheese kind of a mixture here. Just a little bit at a time so you don't overdo it. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I don't know how much to actually add, or I don't even know how much this actually makes. Okay, I think we're just about there. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, you kind of see that? Kind of a clumpy, kind of still mixture type there. Alrighty, okay, well, let's start over in this corner here. Kind of spray that down a little bit. And let's just kind of just throw it on here and see where we're at. Alrighty. Now I'm doing a little bit at a time because I've worked with plaster of Paris before, and you got a very short amount of working time with this, so I don't know how this is going to react. So let's just kind of dab it on here. Use my hands a little bit here. Alrighty, kind of doing a little something here. Alrighty, a little bit there. Let me mix up a little bit more here. Okay, let's do a little bit more up here. Oh, you know what? I think this stuff may stick a little bit better without wetting it down. Okay. Well, you live and learn. You live and learn. Alrighty, I think it's coming along right nice here. Now it's starting to set up now. I can see. So I think at this time I should probably try and start smoothing it out. Oh, that's kind of wet there. And see how she operates. Alrighty. I'm gonna let this dry a second before I go any further. So, alright everybody, as you can see here, I got the diorama all covered in the Sculpt the Mold, and as it was drying a little bit, I put some lines in them to kind of represent rocks. I smoothed down the top, smoothed down the crevice there, little rock ledge there. Added some rocks from some molds that I got from Woodland Scenics and some plaster of Paris. So I made up some nice rocks there that I had laying around, and I'm just kind of making this to see what it would be like So that's actually kind of a good view there. So, but yeah, I'm gonna let it dry now. And tomorrow I will start painting it. So yeah, this is me trying to make a diorama. I think I got a good start on it. Yeah, there's kind of an overhead view. So yeah, I think I'm doing a good job here so far. So check it out. This is the first little bit. Kind of putting it down through there. You got a little bit of an outhouse there just to give you an idea what it looks like. Now that is a HO scale outhouse. Okay. Give you a little river view here. That's looking down the riverside here. A couple boulders. So, yeah. That's what it looks like. Alright, everybody. I have a bad habit of not recording what I do. Yesterday I painted my little diorama. Just took some regular essential paints there. They're acrylic and some black velvet waterproof Indian ink. And I started painting, and for my first time doing this is what I came up with. Now all the lighter areas I'm going to just fill in with moss and ground cover. But come to find out that white gesso does not like washes. Yeah, it just doesn't stick to it. So all the white that you see on here, like that's a perfect example right there. I painted that with white gesso and the wash did not want to stick to it. So maybe I'll just put some cover down there and make it work. So there it is. There it is. Step one in the painting of my diorama. There we go. So that's what it looks like from the top view. Alrighty, everybody. As I was moving on to the trees, I used a loop town technique for making the trees, which involves corn husks, bamboo skewers, and dowel rods. You can YouTube his name, Luke Town, and to get the full lowdown on how he did it. I found it very easy, very realistic view. I started off a little heavy with the flockage of the coconut husk, but I learn my little technique here and just cut back, and when I go down to my main layout I would just cut back on the coconut husk to give it more of a realistic view. But for a first try I think they came out very nice. Here I got at a real good price at an expo center the Woodland Scenics trees that I thought I'd give my hand in start making little trees and to incorporate them into my diorama, and because I won't be using these on the main layout. Um, I do like them. I would use them again, but for the main layout, I think I'm going to try to make my own, like how I made the big ones. Alrighty, everybody, as you can see here, I had to make a base for the diorama. Yes, I broke the #1 cardinal rule. You gotta make a base first. But nonetheless, I was actually able to save it and glue it down to where it wasn't warping too much as the Sculpt the Mold was drying and the plaster was drying. So I saved it. As you can see here, I got the soil down, which I just used a regular garden soil, sifted out through a few screens to a fine grain to a coarser grain. Use a little bit of Modge Podge mixed with water and a drop of dish soap. Spread it over it, sprinkled it over it, and then I used some acrylic paints and painted the riverbed a couple different colors to represent its low spots. The rock faces, I started off with a light gray and then went to a darker gray and then used the washes, which I really didn't show my technique, but I was just so into the mood and so into the moment that I forgot to hit record. And when I stood back and looked at it, I'm like, wow, I'm on to something here. And this is where I decided that it's going to be a Christmas present to my mother. So at this point, I used a little bit of Woodland Scenics ground foliage and flockage to start putting down the ground cover. I started off with a very fine green, I forgot what color, but a light color down to a darker color from a fine to a coarse flockage. And then same technique, Modge Podge, water down and spread it around, sprinkle it on there, and then just turn it upside down, shake it off. Um, I used some airbrush paint and started airbrushing the center of the river. Of course, you started off with the light at the banks and went to the center, gradually getting darker and darker to simulate depth. At this point, I marked out all the trees so they can be removed so I don't go bumping into them and creating a big mess. So, and then, and if you see in the lower corner here, my buddy, I commissioned him, my best friend, to hand carve a canoe boat. You'll be seeing more of that later. All right, as you can see here, I just started adding more flockage of trees in some spaces, some more bushes in some spaces. I used some static grass. Um, yeah, just moving right along, moving right along. Alrighty, here I started printing out some figures on my new 3D resin printer that I got for myself. Here I printed out some horses, ran it through a program called Blender, put a rig on them, formed them into these statues. I made the bridge to go over the water, the bear in the background, all 3D resin printed. The fish here, to kind of give you a representation, that is the head of a toothpick, and hand painted them with just some acrylic paints. Mounted them on some little grains of sand that I liberated from work. No worries. But here I got some more fish that I just placed around in some strategic spots. I did learn something, that not to use a certain type of glue that reacted with the epoxy that you'll see in the end. Yeah, I would almost stick with using like a 5-minute epoxy, and I think you'd be okay. But it totally reacted with the resin of the water. But it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. All right, everybody. At this point, it was time to pour the water. I do have to apologize once more for not showing you the process of pouring the water. I was just so involved. I had my friends over, I had Ed over, and we were all working on the project together that I forgot to hit record. But nonetheless, this is the after effect. I used a product called Ecopoxy, which I do like. It is a very nice epoxy, a little on the expensive side, but gave excellent results. This is the end product. As you can see in the end over there, where the 3 spots are, is where the glue reacted with the epoxy. It turned out very nice as far as the end results. Very high crystal clear, no bubbles. Yeah, I did like it a lot. I enjoyed working with it a lot. On this side, I did make a couple mistakes. As you can see by the blue painter's tape I used on the inside of the dam that I created, which was a no-no, thinking I could get it out. I couldn't. Along the bottom edge where you can see where it's white and foggy, I used the Modge Podge to try and seal up the dam, which wasn't a good idea. You don't use the Modge Podge inside of the water effects because there's no way to remove it after that. Other than that, it came out with a very good end effect. I'm very, very pleased. Very pleased. Alrighty, at this point, everybody, the water is really starting to take effect. I used the Modge Podge High Gloss glue to make the water effects, and I just use small areas a little bit at a time because it does have a slightly quick drying period. And as it was drying, I used a straw to push in the waves and start forming the white caps. I believe it gave me the effects that I needed and liked. The whitewash that you see on the forward sides of all the rock formations, I used paper mache and regular Modge Podge matte to form it. I just used a little bit of paper mache, a little bit of glue, mix it up to a very, very thick consistency to where I can just use a popsicle stick and just dab it into the spots that I need. It gave it a very dynamic effect. And once it was dry, I just used a little bit of white titanium and put right over the tops of it to make it pop a little bit, make it shine a little bit. As far as the white caps also, I used a little bit of white titanium, painted all the white of the tops of the waves and everything to give it a little dynamic effect. The sides here, the ripple effect in the water came out very nice with the Modge Podge gloss. Yeah, very excellent effect. I really am impressed by it. The sides of the river here, I used a 800 wet dry sandpaper along with the Dremel and a little bit of polishing compound to polish it up. And then afterwards, I hit it with a high gloss spray paint enamel, taped it off and everything all nice and pretty, and hit it strategically and gave it the see-through effect, and I think it looked really nice. And as you can see right on the right-hand side, that little bit of blue of the painter's tape that I just couldn't get out. This is one of the mistakes that I made, and as you can see along the bottom of the riverbed, the white foggish effect, that is the Modge Podge that I used on the inside of the river. That was pretty much a no-no. Other than that, I think it came out very nice. An overall effect with the Eco Epoxy Deep Pour Resin. I am very pleased with it, and I would use their product again. That is a for sure. A little on the pricey side, but very nice effects. Alright everybody, at this point it's all about adding details. And a lot of details. As you can see here, I got people in the boats already. TPs are up, the totem pole in the background. My buddy who made the boat also made the totem pole and the bridge. The guys that are here are store-bought. I did not make those on the 3D printer. But yeah, my buddy Chuck who made the boat also made the bridge. Another shot here of just all the details that I have incorporated into it. And yeah, at this point it's just all about adding details. The more details, the better. And at some point you do have to call it and say enough is enough. And I think I came up with a pretty good diorama here for my mom's Christmas present. I hope she likes it. I hope you guys like it. Okay, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed this whole diorama and me making it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed making it. It was a very much zen for me. It makes me want to do it again. I learned a couple things. I made a few mistakes. I do want to thank everybody who helped me make it, from my best buddy Chuck, who made the canoes, the bridge, the totem pole. Ed helped me make the trees. My sister for making the teepees. Yeah, I just had a lot of fun doing this, and my mom liked it a lot. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful Christmas also. And once again, I just want to thank everybody. Luke Town was one of the main guys that I watched on the University of YouTube for all the techniques and everything. And don't get me wrong, I watched a lot of other people. He wasn't the only person that I watched to help me hone in my skills. Well, thank you once more. I'm Roland from Two Dudes in a Train. Hit that like button. Please subscribe if you like this. Tell your friends. Hit that little bell so you get that notification when it comes in. And stay tuned until next time. This is Roland from Two Dudes in a Train.